The second Nike unveiled at logo, the interlocking CC, as gleaming like a beacon of brand supremacy. The internet detonated sneakers, crashed website down, March gone before it even fully dropped. And right in the middle, the chaos, I.O. Wilson, the I have a PR. Hurricanes you never sign up for, but maybe kind of did. Let's get one thing straight, Caitlin Clark didn't just drop a logo. She dropped a cultural reset, one that hit the WNBA like a meteor from a parallel universe. If you're here for the real story and not to filter version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. Reordering everything in its path of swoosh, bless, chosen one crown, not just by Nike, but by market forces, media frenzy, and a nation that couldn't get enough of a deep threes. And did she really just do that? Swagger. Meanwhile, I.O. Wilson, and two-time MVP, defensive beast, championship bringer, and longtime Nike athlete, was watching all and full like someone who are as repeat of party years ago, but it's still waiting for the DJ to play her song, and she didn't stay quiet. Now she'll say Caitlin name outright, but baby, the shade was not subtle. Tweet started flying like got suspiciously spicy, and the timeline turned into a digital courtroom of public opinion. Fans read between the lines, and what they saw was a frustrated queen. Watch your throne get repainted. And who could blame her? Here's the thing, I has been that girl. She's grinded, dominated, smiled at press conferences, cared to franchise, and racked up accolades like a human trophy shelf. But when it came to brand elevation, Nike had her on honor roll, not the Billboard Top 100, no signature shoe, no viral mercs drops, just a quiet, respectable presence. And then Caitlin Clark strolls in fresh off a college loss. And boom, multi-million-dollar rollout, dedicated product line, and a logo that looks ready to headline Paris Fashion Week. If you're Air, how they're not staying. But let's back up a bit, because before the branding explosion, there are already signs that Caitlin Clark was operating on a different frequency. She was pretty of numbers at España. PN commentators scrambling for adjectives, selling out arenas, sparking rivalries, pulling in be a little TV ratings. It wasn't as basketball, it was pop culture. She was giving people what they crave in the TikTok era: drama, talent, confidence, and a hint of villain energy. And that sells naked in. To see a player, they saw movement, so they moved. And when that sleek interlocking CC logo had to scream, you could practically hear the boardrooms clapping. Was minimalist, sharp, instantly recognizable. This wasn't just a logo, it was a coronation. Clark was now officially branded the same level as a Bron, KD, Serena. Not just an athlete, an empire. And Nike's timing impeccable, with the WNBA finally basking in mainstream attention, and Clark's every move under a microscope. They dropped as branding bomb when I knew the world was watching. It wasn't just about shoes. It was about symbolism, about who gets to represent the future of women's sports. And in that moment, it was an IQ. The discourse. Wilson, who's been Nike lawyer for years, has resumed the consistency, the charisma. So why anti? She got own logo. Why no headline? Where the product line? Why was she still playing second fiddle in the brand symphony, even while dominating on the court? The internet had thoughts. Some fans rally behind Wilson, saying she'd been disrespected for too long. Others accuse her jealousy. arguing that cultural impact matters more than trophies in today's endorsement game. And then there were those who pointed to the elephant room, that uncomfortable, unspoken factor that hovers over a lot of conversations like this. But let's keep a focus on brand. Because here's where things get brutal. Clark's merch sold out in minutes. Resellers were listing hoodies and shirts for triple the price. Nike's site buckled under demand like it was a Travis Scott drop. Industry insiders were whispering projections. $100 million, maybe $150 million in rev. New ones or signature shoe drops. And that's not fantasy. That Clark's first real foray into mass market branding. She hasn't even played a full WNBA season yet. Wilson, she's got shoes. She's ad campaigns. But none of them lit up the culture like this. No mass hysteria, no sake crashes, no teens lining up for pre-orders. That's not a critique. It's a reality. Check the market speaks. And sometimes it screams. Now, does that mean Clark's better? Not necessarily. Sports are math equations. But in the cold world, a corporate branding metrics matter, and Nike, like every day, giant chases attention. That's why Clark out the call. Because she's not just a baller, she's a brand, the kind that drives engagement, headlines, memes, and dollars. Her fan base stretches far beyond Iowa, far beyond basketball. She's got moms, dads, teens, kids, and every sports podcast hosts in her corner. That's power, that's marketability, and honestly, that's what brand won now. Gone are the days when a string of MVPs guaranteed a signature issue today. It's about who can sell story, who can move units, who can crash website. Just by showing up. Nike didn't ignore Wilson. They just made a choice, a loud, calculated, slightly savage choice. And let's be real, I have felt it. Her subtle barks, or pointed likes, her almost, but not quite comments. They weren't just petty, they were human, the kind of reaction anyone would have after watching someone else get crowned for it. Kingdom you helped build. But here's the twist. This might be the moment that makes Aya's brand finally pop, because controversy drives engagement. And now the world is watching her. To his "you clap back," which he doubled down issue, she about have flipped his narrative and make herself the underdog hero in a suddenly unequal branding war. The stage is set. And Nike, oh Nike's loving it, because now we're not just talking about Clark, we're talking about the drama, the rivalries, the stakes. Is the kind of attention the WNBA has been dreaming of, and Clark's logo was the spark. Let's be clear, none of this diminishes Wilson's greatness. She's a legend, she's earned her flowers, but this whole saga shows, and the age of influence or athletes, accolades alone, or enough. You need the factor, the moment, the movement, and Clark. She walked in with all three. So where does this leave us? Clark getting her shoe hurled. Logos program be slapped on everything from backpacks, the billboard. She's Nike's golden girl now. And unless someone comes in with Taylor Swift little charisma and a triple-double average, that's not changing anytime soon. Wilson, on the other hand, is Danny at a crossroads. Will she stay steady force, lay her games, speak and ignoring the noise, or she leaned into the moment, demand her spotlight, and force brands recognize what they overlooked? Whatever happens, one thing is clear. The branding game and women's sports just leveled up, and there's no turning back. So next time you see that CC logo, remember, it's not just about Caitlin Clark. It's about who gets to define the future, who gets to be the face, not just the stat sheet, and who gets left watching, wondering when the world will finally see what they've been doing all along. Oh, and Nike, congratulations. You just set women's sports on fire again. If you got thoughts on the Wilson versus Clark marketing saga, we definitely want to hear them. Are you team I demanding respect for the vet, or are you all an Anna Clock era where cultural clout rules? All drop your take in comments. Tell us what you think really deserve a next big studio. And of course, subscribe for more wild meltdowns, pop culture chaos, and corporate plot twists. Because in the world of sports branding, this was just the tip of the smooth. And listen, if you're still here thinking, well, isn't there are enough room for both? You're adorable, of course. There should be room for multiple queens at the table. But this is Nike. This is capitalism. This is the Hunger Games of endorsement dollars, where only the loud as flashy is most marketable contender gets the crown. And right now that crown is firmly sitting on Caitlin Clark's ponytail. What makes this even is how sudden all feels. One day, Io Wilson's the pride of Nike women, carrying a Las Vegas Aces face a campaign's quietly consistent. The next, she's being overshadowed by a rookie who hasn't even gone or feet. We're in a playoff game, yet it's like showing up to your own birthday dinner and realizing someone else is blowing out your candles. And the optics of it all, oh, they're not subtle. The massive rollout, the breathless sports media coverage, the Nike campaigns practically dripping with investment. You could practically feel the marketing budget trip laying overnight. And meanwhile, Wilson's fans around the corner screaming into the void like hello to time and BP over here. The kind of thing that makes you start asking uncomfortable questions. Because of accolades, leadership, winning don't get you the signature shoe. What does? Apparently, it's about morality, buzz, that elusive sparkle that makes you not as good but undeniable. And Caitlin Clark, like it or not, she's undeniable right now. She's not just the moment. She's the algorithm. Every time she touches a basketball, a camera lens follows her highlights. Hit Sports Center before the buzzer sounds. She's been gift-stitched and talked into the cultural bloodstream. Nike saw that and said, yeah, that's our future. And in doing so, they basically told Aya, thanks for your service. Because let's be real, this wasn't just the brand move. This was a message, a declaration. Nike didn't just choose Clark, they anointed her. They lit a signal flare visible from every arena, locker room, and boardroom and industry. This is who we're betting on. This is who gets the logo. Everyone else take a number. And look, we're not saying Io Wilson should have had a signature logo years ago. Okay, no, actually, we're saying that because when you're a two-time MVP in your prime with personality, style, and enough highlight reels to fill an entire YouTube channel, how you not get your own shoe or logo or massive product line? That's not a rhetorical question. That's a red flag. It's almost poetic, really. You work your whole career grinding in a league that's constantly fighting for respect. And just as a tide started, turn boom, someone else get your moment. And they didn't steel mill lusciously. They just happened to walk him when the spotlight was finally charged and ready to shine. Caitlin Clark didn't take anything from Iowa Wilson, but Nike didn't offer to in the same way. And that's what things, and don't get it twisted, Wilson's not just bitter tweeting into the void. She knows the game. She knows what sells. She's been navigating is branding minefield her whole career. But when your harder and legacy gets casually overshadowed by someone whose merge gets more airplane and your championship wins, yeah, that'll rattle you. Even if you don't show it, you feel it. And of Nike's move is any indication where things are headed. It's not just about basketball anymore. It's about entertainment value, flash, reach, viral juice. That Gina Sice koi, or that make someone market, will be on the Sport Wilson plays too when Clark plays the when and trend, and unfortunately in the sneak or wars, trending wins every time. But here's where it gets juicy. The fans are now part the drama. They're Clark stans who treat or logo like the second coming of Air Jordans. They'll defend her to death, armed with stats, screen recordings, and sassy tweets. And then there's a Wilson, Truth Earth, those who see this entirely too Asian as a disrespectful snub, a deliberate raise your legacy that deserves more. And in the middle of this, Nike, probably swimming in engagement metrics, sipping ice match on a glass conference room, grinning from ear to ear, because controversy sells. And if people are arguing over logos and merchant equity in women's sports branding, that means are watching, and watching means buying. And by means more power to Nike's already infinite empire. So what happens now? Wilson has two options. Keep her head down later game, do the talking, and hope the culture catches up, or pivot, step into the chaos, make noise, own her frustration, demand the treatment she deserves, lean into the narrative, because right now she's on the verge of something bigger. She's no longer just a player. Yeah, she's a symbol of every woman who's done everything right, climbed the ladder, smile politely, and still got overlooked for someone shiny or a newer. And that's powerful. If she plays is right, she could turn this whole thing on its head. She could redefine what staying power looks like. She could be the slow burn success story that ends up more respected and a trend. But that depends on what comes next. Is Nike go to expand her line, offer the same treatment? Is another brand going to swoop in and say, hey Iowa, we see you? Or is this one those moments where the culture moves on and we're left wondering how we let greatness fade quietly? Lee, that's the part that stings most, the silence, the absence of a statement from Nike or plan. Elevate both players equally, the refusal to acknowledge that two women can be icons the same time without one erasing the other. And look, we're not asking for a Disney ending year. This isn't a let's all share the spotlight kind of industry. It's a brutal, cutthroat, billion-dollar brand battlefield. But if this whole situation proves anything, it's that the rules are changing. Performance isn't enough anymore. You need story, drama, cultural pull. And Wilson got a story. Now one, fill attention, pride and joy. Justice and that simmering need to be seen. That the brand waiting to happen. So maybe, just maybe, does Nike Clark Wilson fiasco is beginning of something bigger, maybe as the spark that ignites real investment across the board. Maybe brands start waking up and realizing that MVPs deserve more than pole light applause. Maybe this isn't just about shoes and logos. It's about finally giving women's sports a layered, complex, messy, real storytelling. It's always deserved and net. That's where we all win. But until then, the drama continues, because here's the kicker. This entire branding circus clocks of viral merge, Wilson's public frustration, Nike's calculated silence has officially turned women's basketball into a full-on spectacle. Not just new wow, look at that dunk way. But in the did you see what she does posted on IG Way? And honestly, that's the kind of chaos League has needed for years. It's messy, it's emotional, it's personal, and people can't stop watching. But let's not pretend this whole situation is happening in a vacuum. There are layers to this drama, years of them. The WNBA has been begging for mainstream attention, climb for airtime, and begging brands to treat these athletes with the same reverence as or NBA counterparts for decades. And now that attention is finally here, but it's not arriving in a balanced or fair way. It's arriving wrapped in exclusivity. It's arriving as a highlight reel, one face. It's arriving with the world whispering why her and not them, and made me that the most frustrating part for Wilson, that after all the blood, sweat, and triple doubles, this is how she reminded of a place in the brand food chain, not with a press release, not with a thank you, but with a sudden shift and attention so loud, so obvious it might as well come a flashy marquee we're moving on. It's not just that Clark is get her flowers, is that they're being handed her in a bouquet so big blocks out the sun for everyone else. And Wilson, she's standing in the shadows of someone else, a spotlight, squinting, waiting, wondering, was I ever going to get that kind of shine? Or was I just the warm-up act for someone else moment? That's not bitterness. That's heartbreak dress and professionalism. Because Wilson has played the game on and off the court. She's shown up to every media day, put in the hours, care team, and smile to every well. Don't you think the WNBA needs more visibility? Question like it wasn't a million times, someone asked. She's done everything right, and now she's watching someone who's barely dip a toe in the league cannonball and to superstardom of the logo, so clean it looks ready for a Times Square billboard. And let's talk about that logo for a second. Those interlocking CS, they're elegant, bold, perfectly designed to be slapped on shoes, shorts, back packs, phone cases, mugs, you name it. It screams legacy, like someone somewhere already decided, Caitlin Clark, we're gonna be the one, not eventually, not she earns it now. Nike didn't as bet on her future. They fast-tracked it. And again, that's not Caitlin thought she's great. This isn't a takedown of her talent. You can recognize a rise and still ask why it came to cause of everyone else is spotlight. Because here's the thing, if Clark as a chosen one, what does that make Wilson? A cautionary tale, a benchmark, a name mentioned in think pieces titled The Ones Who Came Before. Now that's not how it should go. Wilson is still at or peak. She's dominating her stats. Don't lie, her game speaks for itself. But unfortunately, we don't live in a world where stats are the only currency. We live in a world where moments matter more than medals. And Caitlin Clark, she arrived with a moment, a made-for-TV internet, breaking brand gushing moment that Nike could resist. One I feel so monumental, it's starting to rewrite the hierarchy in real time. That's what this is, isn't it? A rewriting of the rules, a realignment of value, a recalibration of a man orders. And why? Because what Wilson is feeling isn't as exclusion, it's obsolescence. And that's terrifying for any athlete, especially one who's worked their whole career to be seen. Is like being a lead in the hit show for 6 seasons and then suddenly finding out they're recast and then doing a reboot while you're still under contract, standing there in the middle of your prime. And the audience is already cheering for the newcomer before you even had your final scene. And for what? For numbers, for likes, for cultural momentum, apparently, yeah. But that's where things get interesting, because Wilson's response, however subtle, isn't just a reaction. It's an invitation. She's giving people permission to ask hard questions, to interrogate the system, to push back on the idea that success should only come of your shiny and brand new. And maybe, just maybe, that's a real superpower right now. She's not just a player anymore. She's a mirror run, reflecting the inequalities, exposing the cracks in the foundation, asking, without even raising her voice, do you really see us? Or are you just pretending until someone more marketable shows up? And that question, it's hard, because if it can happen, Io Wilson, one of the most accomplished players of regeneration, it can happen at anyone. So now the real story is about logos or shoes or million-dollar projections. It's about legacy, respect, visibility that doesn't hinge on who trends faster. It's about a league standing at a crossroads, deciding whether it wants to build something sustainable and inclusive, or just chase the next viral wave until it crashes. Caitlin Clark isn't a villain here. She's a product of the system, a system that finally opened his wallet, but only wide enough for one. The villain, the real villain, is the idea that there can only be one. That's the trap. And Nike, knowingly or not, fell right into it. They could have used this moment to uplift everyone, to create parallel paths, to celebrate Clark and honor Wilson, to show the world that women's sports has big of a more than one face, more than one logo, more than one narrative. But they didn't. They played favorites. And now the world is watching the fallout, like as the season finale of a drama we didn't know we were binge watching. So here we are, Io Wilson, still winning, still leading, still putting up numbers that make sports analysts weep. But now the side of simmering tensions, a quiet fire that started burn a little hotter every time